Hey, real estate nerds, this is Alex Yoder with Pro Tip Tuesday, my favorite day of the week. And today I want to talk about getting a housing reference that you can actually trust to an extent, that you can actually kind of trust. Housing references have a reputation, and that is that they're not dependable, they're not reliable, because the tenant or who's applying for your property could theoretically go have their brother fill the reference out, list their brother's email address, their brother's phone number, and now this person who didn't actually rent to the tenant is saying they're awesome, rent to them. And so these references really are historically not that great. And then the other thing is, if we make these references too difficult to obtain, now we're not renting out our properties. So on one hand, we want to avoid fraud. On the other hand, we don't want to not rent our houses. So how do we find a balance there where we are getting some confirmations to give the reference a little bit more legitimacy without scaring people away who are legitimate? So I thought I'd just share what we've started to do in situations where there is no credit score that we can count on. For those of you that don't know, last year there was a bill that passed which basically said if there's a tenant getting a housing subsidy, we cannot consider their credit score. And so now we're really trying to lean on these other things more than we used to because we don't have a credit score to lean on. So now we are leaning on housing references in these situations more heavily than ever. And what we've started doing is requiring not only a copy of the lease from the tenancy, but also requiring something showing proof of consistent payment. Specifically, in most cases, we're asking for a tenant ledger from the landlord showing here's the charges, here's the debits and the credits during their tenancy, or even a bank statement. And so I know some companies are doing like a bank statement where they're showing that money went out to the landlord on a consistent basis and timely basis throughout the lease and throughout the tenancy. So things like this where you can confirm within reason some kind of documentation that the tenancy actually existed and that timely payment actually occurred is a good starting point to solidify the legitimacy of a reference. So I just want to get trying to get your brain turning on ways to make these references better and more dependable. Hopefully this was helpful. We'll see you next week.